Hey cycling community, this is Steve Grusis, the Cycling Greek. Because of timing involved in what I was doing, this race turned out to be an experiment for me. The last couple races I did on the 11th and 15th of December, I got dropped pretty early. And the reason I got dropped pretty early, I'm claiming, is because of the deadlifts and squats I've been doing. Because I'm getting ready for an FTP test on Saturday the 24th, I stopped doing squats and deadlifts on Wednesday the 14th. Coming into this race, my legs are feeling a lot more fresh because I haven't done any leg work in the gym for about 6 days. What I want to find out from this test is, am I getting dropped early because of the leg work I'm doing in the gym? Or is it because at 67 I'm old and slow? In my last race on the 15th, it was 25 miles, and I got dropped 5 miles into the race. The crit on the 11th was just under 10 miles, and I got dropped at about the 4-mile mark. By the way, I'm in the B category. Now, this race is a little over 18 miles. It's a little easier to compare the 25-mile race that I did to this race as opposed to comparing this race to the crit. Jumping to the 1.5-mile mark, there is a rider that's broken away from the pack, and that's a long ways to go solo, but probably what he's doing is that he's looking for some other stronger riders in the pack to go join him. There are 42 of us that started this race, so I'm not going to jump across because, I'm not feeling that confident to be able to do that. So I'm just going to park myself near the front and then just ride wheels. The pack doesn't seem to be reacting as they're probably thinking it's way too early. There is one person that did go out to join him, but it looks like that person that originally did the attack, that he's thinking twice about it. Within about another 20 seconds, they'll both come back into the pack. And just a little while later, we have another breakaway attempt, and this is still under 2-mile mark. This is turning out to be an active race. Again, there's another person that goes out attempting to bridge to that other person. Could be the same two people. I don't know. But this time, the pack isn't having any of it. At least the ones in the front aren't. As they start to go after those two, the rest of the pack starts to stretch out to stay connected to them. I'm trying to stay connected to them. As it turns out, and I don't know why, I don't know if it's timing or some other reason, as soon as we cross the sprint point, the front of the pack, which is now connected, slows down. After that, for a few miles, things were muted. There were some surges, but when we get to the 6.5-mile mark where we are now, you look up ahead, there's somebody that's trying to get away. Now, the section that we got onto has some elevation gain, so this person may be thinking that this is a good place for him to jump away and maybe pull some people to bridge up to him. But it seems like nobody in the pack has any motivation to do that. So right now we're just kind of hanging together. The wattage is up as the pack wants to keep them in sight. This course does not have a lot of elevation gain. So I have a feather power up and this is a great place to use it, which I'm doing. After a kilometer, the breakaway comes back into the pack. Jumping ahead to just about the 2/3 mark of the race, I'm still with the pack. Maybe my leg work in the gym is having a significant effect on my Zwift racing. We'll explore that in just a bit. In the meantime, somebody else tried to get away. Actually, it could have been the same person that's been doing it all along. This rider seems motivated. He has a pretty good gap, but that may be because we're not putting a lot of power into trying to chase him down. Let's take a moment and look at some numbers, comparing last week's 25-mile race to this week's 18-mile race. Each of these numbers are averages of the front finishing peloton. You can see that last week's longer race was a tougher race. Does that mean that squats and deadlifts have no effect on my Zwift racing? I don't think so. Conversely, does that mean that squats and deadlifts are the only reason I'm getting dropped in these tough races? Again, I don't think so. I'm sure it plays a significant factor, but it's not the only reason. Tell me what you think. Comment below and let me know your thoughts. Back to the action on the screen. Another rider attacked the peloton and bridged up to that breakaway. They were off for a bit. The pack then decided not to have any of that, increased the pace, and after 2 kilometers, those two were brought back in. I now jump to the final kilometer. During this time, I've been trying to rest and just stay on wheels. Now I've drifted to the back in order to make a run-up for the final sprint. In concept, that was a great idea. I could use my drafting power-up in order to make my run-up, but now I've had to use it because the back 5 or 6 people I was behind started coming off the back of the main pack. So then I had to work extra and use my power-up in order to get back to the pack, which I am now. Ordinarily, since my sprint is terrible, I try to get away, let's say, about 3/10 of a mile, maybe even if I'm feeling good, 6/10 of a mile. But today, this group seemed pretty strong, and I was getting a little bit worn, and I elected to just officially practice my sprint because I wasn't going to be able to do anything else. I had a viewer on the previous Zwift race video tell me to stop sprinting on top of my hoods and that I needed to treat this like a on-the-road sprint. Hands in the drops, pulling, pushing, that type of thing. So that's what I was going to do. The question now was, since I haven't done any official VO2 max work, was I going to have enough juice to be able to sprint at the very end? We're about to find out. We're about 300 feet away from the finish. I'm getting up to like 6.3 watts per kilogram. I sat down because that's it. And boom, 33rd out of 42. But finishing with the main pack. For this guy, this was a good race. I hope you enjoyed this and you got something out of it. As always, remember, you know the drill. Comment, like, subscribe. The Cycling Greek.